بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد عبده ورسوله أما بعد. Today inshallah the kalima, the short talk, is regarding the haqiqah, the reality of fasting, and that some of the benefits of fasting in Ramadan on our behavior, manners, and how it makes us, or supposed to make us, better. Because most of us are aware about fasting, the rules, the regulations, the conditions, and sometimes we even learn about the different sunan regarding fasting. But today here I want to focus just on the haqiqah, the reality of it. Means what's the goal of fasting besides abstaining from food and drink and desires? And that is that the fasting is supposed to improve our behavior and manners, and by that improvement in manners and behavior, that we get closer to achieving taqwa. Allah says in the Quran subhanahu wa ta'ala, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. All you who believe, verily fasting has been prescribed upon you, as it has been prescribed upon those before you, so you may gain taqwa. So one of the primary goals, and the purpose and objective of fasting is taqwa. And taqwa, from the many definitions that are there, the basics of it, or the basic definition is فعل الأوامر, doing the obligations, وترك النواهي, and staying away from the prohibitions. Very basic working definition of taqwa. فعل الأوامر, doing the commandments, or fulfilling the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وترك النواهي, and staying away from the prohibitions. So the goal of taqwa, the goal of fasting is taqwa. But how do we achieve the more fasting? Because if you think about, okay, I'm abstaining from food, I'm abstaining from drink, I'm abstaining from marital relations and desires. But then how do I gain that taqwa? But if you look at the ahadith of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam of fasting, and the wisdom behind it, you see that you gain the taqwa by improving your manners, by improving your behavior, by doing Allah's orders and staying with the prohibitions while fasting, to train yourself to be that way outside of the fast. So by changing our behavior or restraining ourselves from haram and evil, then we reach the goal of having that taqwa, and from then, when we train in that month, we continue afterwards. And we should know already that entering to Jannah, from the two major reasons people go to Jannah is through taqwa and husn al-khuluq. Hadith Abi Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu قال, so the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, is asked, Akthar al-nas, what's the most, thing, what's the thing that puts Muslim into Jannah? And he said, taqwa wa husn al-khuluq. Taqwa and good manners. Hadith, right? Sahih. So taqwa, husn al-khuluq, they put people in the paradise. Two foremost things that put people in paradise. In Ramadan we gain taqwa, but also we have husn al-khuluq. So we see from that, even if you fast the proper way, haqiqatu siyam, the correct fast, then we're able to get to Jannah, because we have that, inshallah, taqwa and the husn al-khuluq. One thing Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us about fasting is that fasting is not about food and drink. And we know that fasting is about abstaining from food and drink, but the goal is not abstaining from food and drink. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ليس الصيام من الأكل والشرب إنما الصيام من اللغو والرفث. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Abu Hurairah said, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, fasting is not from food and drink. Fasting is not from food and drink. Verily the fasting is from lagw, which can be translated as vain, idle speech. Vain talk or idle speech. And from rafath. And rafath can be translated as obscenities. And we're going to explain what the scholars mentioned in terms of what does these two words mean, what does it mean. So fasting is not from food and drink. Verily fasting is from vain talk or idle speech and obscenities. And the hadith has been graded by Shaykh Al-Albani, graded authentic, is Sahih Targhib. Sahih Targhib. إنما الصيام من اللغو والرفث. لغو والرفث. Now, Imam Munawi, rahimahullah, great scholars of hadith, to explain a hadith, he explained this. He said lagw means kalam al-batil. It's kalam, speech that's falsehood, and mixed up speech. Speech where you mix up good and bad, or speech is false. It's false and it's batil, it's falsehood. And as for al-rafath, rafath means obscenities, something that's obscene, particularly discussing or talking about sexual relations or marital relations and those things of that nature. So it's a euphemism, or like a softer word for the issues of nikah, marital relations, things that you should not be discussing anyways, especially in public. So these two things, Rasulullah said, a real fast is from avoiding these two things. Now Rasulullah is saying in fasting, of course outside Ramadan we're not supposed to be speaking. Generally we're not supposed to have vain talk, and we're not supposed to be engaging obscenities. Because we know the Messenger of Allah, he wasn't one who spoke obscenities or bad language or ever used to do actions or speech that was bad or obscene. Generally, he was not someone who spoke foul words or never engaged in obscenities or actions that are obscene or evil. But why Ramadan the emphasis? Because you're fasting. And while you're fasting, the emphasis grows on those two, staying away from those two, amongst other things, so you can perfect your character and manner and get closer to taqwa and obtain it. Now, laghu, false and vain idle speech, should be avoided always. Allah described in Surah Mu'minun the believers. Allah, one of the sifat He gives, the characteristics, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ. Those who avoid vain talk, those who avoid idle speech. Right? Vain talk and idle speech should not be a characteristic of a believer. It does not just speak about things that are nonsense, or speak about things that have no value, or no benefit, or mix between good and bad. The Rasul ﷺ, from his characteristics, that he never used to speak, or very limited. He had very limited, or if at all, spoke vain or idle speech. The Sahabi Abdullah ibn Abi Awfa radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he described the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his sifat, his mannerisms and characteristics. He said, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كثير يكثر الذكر. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to increase in his remembrance of Allah. Used to increase in his remembrance of Allah. ويقلل له. And he used to have very limited or very less idle or vain speech. Another version mentions وَيُطِيلُ السَّمْتَ. He used to keep quiet often. Often he was quiet. And he mentioned here that he used to be quiet often, and also يُقَصِّرُ الْخُطْبَةِ. He used to make his khutbah short. The Sunni Messenger from his sifat, he was known for it. And then he mentions here وَلَا يَأْنَفُ وَلَا يَسْتَكْثَرُ. He wasn't someone who's arrogant, nor someone who was high, too haughty, or think he was too big. To يَمْشِي مَعَ الْأَرْمَلَةِ, to walk with the widows or the masakeen, يُقْضَى لَهُ حَاجَةً. To walk with the or masakeen, the poor and needy, or walk alongside those who are armala, the widows, in order to help fulfill their needs. And this hadith is being greatly authenticated by Shaykh Al-Wadi'i in Sahih Musnad. Rasulullah from his manners and characteristics, he used to speak less vain or idle speech, if at all. But why in Ramadan is telling us that we should be more careful? The Rasulullah doesn't do it generally. In fasting, he said we shouldn't do it. Allah says the believers generally don't do it, but fasting we shouldn't do some more so. Because the goal of fasting we see is to remove those bad characteristics from us, so we get closer to Allah and we gain that taqwa. And through that taqwa, and obtaining taqwa and those good manners, we get closer to Allah and we get to Jannah inshallah. If we continue to maintain them, not just in Ramadan. So for example, someone says, okay, in Ramadan I'll stay away from vain talk, idle speech, obscenities, but after Ramadan I will do it. No. The goal is after 30 days or 29 days of training yourself with this, inshallah it becomes your characteristic. Rasulullah mentioned khayru aada. Good is a habit. Good is a habit, and it should be our habit. And hadith sahih Ibn Majah. Khayru aada. Good is a habit. And you can only obtain that habit by training yourself to do it. For 30 days you don't speak those bad and foul language, or those very nonsense, vain talk or falsehood, or talk about obscenities. Then inshallah Allah can make that your characteristic. Now what else we see also here is limited or removed fasting's goal from food and drink. Does that mean we don't worry about food and drink? No. We cannot eat while fasting. We cannot drink. And it doesn't mean that that's not part of fasting. It is, but it's not the goal. And too many Muslims spend too much time focusing on not eating or drinking the water when they're making wudu or when they do this or that, but they don't worry about what they say. And what's also surprising is that breaking your fast can only be done by eating or drinking or through marital relations. You don't break your fast of vain talk. You don't break your fast by lying or backbiting according to correct opinion. Because there's some scholars who argue that these actions will actually break your fast, but that's a weak opinion. So what's important here then? If that's food and drink, then from what we understand, if we look at this, okay, food and drink is most important because it breaks your fast. But that's not the goal, because that's the bare minimum fasting. Because fasting only comes when you, for the sake of Allah, abstain from food and drink and marital relations. Then you begin fasting. But the goal is that you have to then keep going and get to the reality of the fast. Now Rasulullah also, before I mention another point, even rafath, obscenities we should not do outside of Ramadan. Like when you go for Hajj, Allah talks about Hajj ashhur ma'lumat. Hajj is on specific months. So whoever is obligated to go for Hajj, fala rafath. So you should not engage in marital relations, right? Or engage in discussing those marital relations if he is one who is there. وَلَا فَسُوقَ وَلَا جِدَالَ فِي الْحَجِّ. And don't do any wickedness nor argumentation while you're on Hajj. So it's outside Ramadan as well. But emphasis when you're fasting, you don't do it. So we see fasting is more than the food and drink. The real fast is about your tongue, your heart, your mind, your body parts to stay from bad things. Now Rasulullah also added other things to keep us, right, on the goal of being upon true fasting. Another hadith is Bukhari Muslim. Rasulullah said, "Man lam yada' qawl az-zur wa 'amala bih." Whoever does not leave off qawl az-zur, false speech, or Ibn Hajar says qawl az-zur means kadhib, actually, it means lying. Wa 'amala bihi, and lying upon and acting upon that, about what intends or what's based off of lying. Another hadith also add jahl, ignorance, or safaha, foolishness. فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ, Allah has no need for him then, أَن يَدَعَ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ, that he leaves off his food and drink. So we see here now Rasulullah, he's saying in this hadith, if we don't leave off lying and ignorance and what's based on actions that are based on lying, Allah has no need for your food and drink. Does that mean that your fast is broken? Some scholars improve or argue that it was. Like in Battal, rahimahullah, Ibn Hajar quotes from him. Others say that it's intended that the fast is broken. But the majority of scholars say no, the fast is not broken. The fast is there, but you diminish your reward. So what we see here is that Rasulullah is telling us Allah doesn't have a need. Means in reality you don't get much reward for fasting if you don't leave out these things. But a person who's just fasting from food and drink says I'm fasting, but you're not really fasting the proper way, because food and drink wasn't just the intended goal. So we see here we have to focus on these matters, the goal of rectifying our actions, getting close to Allah through to the real fast. Now there's another hadith connected to this or similar wording, Anas bin Malik radiallahu ta'ala anhu, where Rasulullah said, "Man lam yada' al-khana wal-kadhib," whoever does not leave off lying and deception or betrayal, فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ, Allah has no need for him to leave off his food and drink. And this wording, Ibn Hajar grades authentic Fath al-Bari and Shaykh al-Albani Sahih Targhib. Whoever does not leave off betrayal and lying specifically. And that's why Ibn Hajar used that as evidence for the fact qawl az-zur means kadhib. He used that as one of the evidences to prove that it means lying. Qawl az-zur, false speech, it means actual lying. That Allah has no need for it. Now does that mean then if someone continuously lies in Ramadan while fasting, or continuously engages in things that are based off lies or foolishness, that he's not fasting every single day? No, he's fasting, but he's getting less reward. That's why Imam Nawawi said in Majmu' that what we learn from this hadith is that the kamal as-sawm, the perfect or the complete fast, which in it is virtue that's matluba, that's required from you, is that the person has a fast siyana, he can protect himself from kalamur radi, false or low debased speech. Not that the fast is broken by it. Not that these things break your fast. So he mentioned Majmu' that the fast is not broken by these. In case, right, we hear the other opinions, the correct opinion does not break your fast, but it lowers your reward. So therefore, we see that a person who's fasting in reality should not be fasting with the intent to lower his reward. If only he focuses on food and drink. Because if all you focus on food and drink, then you lower your reward continuously. And after Ramadan, as if you enter Ramadan, exited with no change. Then what's the point of Ramadan then? The question comes. Because people, they save food and drink through dieting. Some people do it to the doctor's prescription, but are they fasting? No. But all we do in Ramadan, or if we don't focus on the true aspect of Ramadan, we'll end up in a similar situation. Ramadan comes and goes, and we're the same person. We have not increased, we have not refined, we have not gone taqwa, we have not gone closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So with that, Rasulullah criticized people who only fasted from food and drink. He said, alayhi salatu salam, Hadith Abu Hurairah again, رُبَّ صَائِم, perhaps someone will fast, or someone who's fasting, لَيْسَ لَهُ مِنْ صِيَامِهِ إِلَّا جُوعٌ وَعَطَشٌ, he gets nothing out of his fast except for hunger and thirst. وَرُبَّ لَيْسَ لَهُ مِنْ قِيَامِهِ إِلَّا سَهَرٌ, a person, perhaps someone will stand up for night prayer, tarawih, tahajjud, like this, he gets nothing but tiredness, sahar, sleepy nights. So we see in this hadith that the person who's fasting, it's hadith in the Sunni and others, but hadith Sahih Targhib, Shaykh al-Albani going to authentic there, the person who's fasting only considers food and drink, that's all he gets. It's all he's concerned about. I'm not eating anything, I'm not drinking anything, nothing went down my throat. But he didn't do a proper fast with the other aspects, that's all he gets. One says, La hadd lahu, he has no share in reward except for that. So imagine, every day Ramadan, 17 or whatever maybe hours, all you're getting is that. If we don't focus on it, same thing with tarawih and tahajjud, the person must be sincere. If you can't pray 8, do 4, do what you can, but don't stand with no intention. Don't stand with no focus, because he gets nothing out of his sleeping nights. So we see here again, criticizing us if we just focus on the fast that many people or the concern many people have is with food and drink. And that's not the goal of fasting. The goal of fasting is to refine us. Imam Nawawi rahimahullah explained this hadith, likewise mentioning from the different meanings it has, is that man la yahfad jawarihuhu min atham, the person who does not protect his body parts and limbs from sins. This is the one I'm referring to. He doesn't get any share or doesn't get anything for hunger and thirst because he didn't protect his body parts from sins or our limbs from sins. And he mentioned some other opinions that you can take from this. So if we look at this, then we see, subhanAllah, the fasting should also affect our limbs, that we don't hit people for no reason. If someone wants to fight you, what do you say? Inni sa'im, I'm fasting. Not after iftar I will deal with you, or after Ramadan I will take care of this. Because then the person is not changing and he's not getting better. And we see now the bigger goals of these to change the character, to change the behavior and manners, so we get the taqwa. And if the Muslim does that, he reaches the haqiqah, the reality of fasting, and becomes a better Muslim. And then I want to mention the last point in which Rasulullah spoke about the person who's fasting, his etiquette. And again, if all things Rasulullah spoke about, different things about fasting, he spoke a lot of emphasis on these aspects. Hadith Qudsi, Rasulullah said, Allah says, Jalla wa ala, talking about the fasting, he said, Kullu amal ibn Adam. All the actions of son of Adam, lahu illa siyam. All the actions of son of Adam for him except for fasting. It's for me, he said. Asiyamu li, fasting is for me, Allah says. Wa ana ajzi bih. Now I'll reward the person who fasts. Then he says, Jalla wa ala, he said the day that one of you is fasting, or Rasulullah mentioning, when one of you guys are fasting, today when you're fasting, and this day, la yarfuth, do not commit or do not engage in any obscenities. Wa la yaskhab, and don't shout or raise your voice. And it's important here. How does that have to do with fasting? And today, look, right, all kind of things are happening in our world today that can leave you angry. For example, you're working, you raise your voice, you got angry. Perhaps some people engage arguments in Ramadan. When things are not important, and you raise your voice. La yaskhab, he said. If the day you're fasting, that kind of so yom yusum ahadukum, is the day which one of you is fasting, فلا يسخب, don't raise your voice. With that, ساب أحد, if anyone curses you, وشتم, curses you or insults you, وقاتله, or wants to fight with you, what do you say? إني صائم, right? I'm fasting. Some versions meant to say it twice. Imam Nawawi says Sharh Sahih Muslim means you say it internally and also you can say it verbally, both. Some scholars you just say internally, I'm fasting. Otherwise you can say both. Internally you remind yourself, but you can also say I'm fasting. That person would know, and also it means not that I'm not capable of engaging with you. I'm not going to. Now, Uthaymin mentioned, it doesn't mean that I'm weak or I can't fight with you. I'm not going to. I choose not to. And then Rasulullah continued mentioning the hadith after that. They say I'm fasting, and tell the person fasting like this. And this is important here. These elements of etiquette of fasting don't have anything to do with food and drink. If all people worry about is food and drink, or the concern that the person doesn't get better, he doesn't get closer to Allah. And that's why even from the non-Muslims, if they see someone who's fasting, in reality, the true fast, then it's really a change. People will become better. You will become better Muslim. You will attain taqwa because you're controlling your body, your mind, your heart, your tongue from haram, fi'l awamir, you're doing Allah's obligations or commandments you're commanding you, wa tarak nawahi, and that's taqwa in and of itself. And these commandments here, Rasulullah mentioned, if we do all of them while fasting, then we are enacting taqwa. We are actually doing with taqwa. And when we stay from prohibitions in Ramadan outside, we're actually doing taqwa, because that's what taqwa is. The basics of it. Doing the obligations, staying from prohibitions. One last benefit I want to mention, if someone is fasting, someone engages with you, wants to argue with you, fight with you. Another version of hadith mentions, إذا كان قائما فليجلس. If you're standing, take a seat. Shaykh Al-Albani grades this as part of the version of the hadith, authentic and Sahih Targhib. So we can add the elements too. If someone's again persistently arguing with you, they just sit down, relax. And the same thing we see here, giving us detailed rules about what to do to show us again that's the stepping stones of taqwa. It's not just I will have taqwa because I prayed, I read the Quran, but all I can serve with food and drink and I didn't change, I didn't get better. And then the point also is that Ramadan is supposed to make us better, and these are the ways we can see that the person who does it, he gets the reality of fasting. And the goal also is that لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So if we begin taqwa, we get closer to Allah. And through taqwa there are many khair, much khair. For example, when someone gains taqwa by doing these things and other aspects of taqwa, then a person's life becomes easier. وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِ يُسْرًا. Whoever fears Allah makes his life affairs easy. So if you gain taqwa through Ramadan, everything will become easy. In Ramadan, out of it, all those affairs we worry about, Allah make it easy. Allah give us a makhraja. Allah will be for us a hasib. Allah will be sufficient for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us barakat. Right? In the dunya, right? For example, money, wealth, success, by the taqwa. So taqwa again has many goals, and this is what I want to remind us about, because Ramadan is coming, and also there's a lot of fitan, right? مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا وَمَا بَطَنَ, what's apparent and hidden. But if someone fasts the right way, not only is he improving, but also you can improve others. Because someone would ask, what's the change? You see, we know many people who become better in Ramadan, or they change their lives. The question is, what made you change? I'm doing the fasting the right way, according to Sunni Messenger ﷺ, and the way the Sahaba and Salaf did it, and that's why I'm getting better. And the person who sees someone who can do that in 30 days or 29 days, then inshallah by Allah's tawfiq can do it the rest of the months. And the person will get better, and the person who is inspired by that or follows your good guidance or your good example also will get better, and the Muslims will get better step by step. Each person changes, the community gets better, the Muslims get better. Allah tells in the Quran, He doesn't change the conditions of people, except that they change the conditions themselves. That's why I want to remind yourself in this short talk. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.